everyone, my name is Courtney and welcome back to my channel. We are kicking off one last weekly reading vlog for the month of October. We are coming off of another very Halloween-y weekend with the fam. On Saturday, it was the last social district in our town. So about a block away, all the kids were in costumes. They had trick-or-treating from all the local businesses. And then yesterday in the park, they did another sort of trunk or treat set up. There were lots of local businesses passing out candy. They had this huge walkthrough of a bunch of Halloween themed inflatables, which was very cute. And we just did a lot of walking around. We love visiting Ferndale, and they have a independent artist market there called the Rust Belt Market, and they're only open on the weekends. And since we have moved here, we've only been going to Ferndale during the week, so we've always missed out on the Rust Belt. And yesterday we finally got to go. Got this cute shirt, got a couple of hair clips, and it was just nice to treat myself. I don't have many more reading plans for October. I am currently reading and hoping to finish Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I am going to be doing a live show with Beth on Friday night as part of her Dead Red book club, and I am just so excited. I am reading my mother-in-law's copy that she gave to us, and just a special feeling like I'm connecting with her in that way. I think I miss her extra. During this Halloween season, we always helped her decorate for Halloween. She loved passing out candy for kids, even if none came that year. And she loved Stephen King especially, as you guys know from my epic Stephen King book haul that I posted. That is my most popular video on this channel. Hey, no biting. She always said that Pet Sematary scared her the most when she read it. And I think she was a little confused because she always said that she read it right after my brother-in-law was born. And so Pet Sematary hit her the hardest because Pet Sematary deals with a lot of grief, especially grief surrounding the loss of a child. And she always told me not to read it directly after having children. Wolf is a little bit older now, so I feel like I'll be okay, even though he is a little close in age to the youngest child in the book. But the reason I think she's confused is that Pet Sematary came out only 5 days before my husband was born in 1983, and he's a couple years younger than his brother. So I think that she actually was hit hard because she was reading it after my husband was born, and just connects me to it even further just from that standpoint. We are following the Creed family, Lewis with his wife Rachel and their 2 kids, Ellie and Gage. And they've just moved from Chicago to a small town. Also a big connection there. They have moved to a house out in the country. They are kind of close to a county road that's heavily populated by semi-trucks and these big trucks. Lots of foreshadowing there if you've seen the movie. And he is making friends with his neighbor Judd Crandall, who is sort of helping them tour their own property, and they discover that there is a pet cemetery on their property that the local kids have maintained for many, many, many years. Lewis is a doctor, so he is comfortable dealing with death, and he feels kind of comfortable with it. His wife, however, had a very traumatic experience with her sister dying when she was younger that she doesn't like to talk about. So she's very triggered by visiting the pet cemetery for the first time. And their daughter is also very curious about what it means to die, asking lots of questions about if that means their cat will die. And she is just very upset by the experience visiting the pet cemetery. Stephen King is such a comfy author to me that sometimes I think he's beyond scaring me. And in this book, I have definitely been freaked out more than once. Lewis is visited by what he thinks is a ghost in a dream. And it seems like maybe the dream is not so dreamy after all, and that it could be real. And that scene, I was reading alone in my basement last night, and I was actually a little bit freaked out. And the way that the sound carries through this house when somebody is walking upstairs, it sounds very loud in the basement. And so it just kept sounding like something or someone was coming down the stairs. And when our cat comes down the stairs, it sounds like a person. And I knew my husband was in bed. So just put me on edge. It actually did scare me being alone in my basement last night and reading this scene that was happening. And he sort of mentions it as he is discussing what it means to have these conversations with his daughter, how nobody likes to talk about death, how it's just one of life's greatest mysteries. We all are born and we all die, but we don't know when or how, and we don't know what happens after. So of course that is fearful to a lot of people. And since it is such a topic that makes so many people uncomfortable, I think that's just what adds to the fear and anxiety in the book, is all of these conversations that are happening about death. It's very much at the forefront of the book the entire time almost. And also, since I've seen the movie, I am just dreading knowing what comes next. I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I know it's coming soon, and so I'm really just dreading reading that. This book has been so descriptive so far, with lots of really tense, horrifying moments, uncomfortable moments, and I think that the scene that I'm thinking of in particular is going to be especially gut-wrenching, but I think it will also give us a lot to talk about, because I'm a mother, Beth is a mother, and I'm curious to see if we would connect to this story a little bit harder being mothers compared to those who aren't. So I'm going to be buckling down tonight, doing a lot more reading. I need to get my ass off of TikTok because that has been my real time killer lately. And I still have like over 250 pages left to read, I think. So it'll be done by Friday. I know it, but we just have to get there. I will see you guys all in the next update. Bye. Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. I haven't updated you very much because there hasn't been anything to update you on. We've just been staying pretty close to home the last couple of days. The weather outside has been absolutely perfect, like 67 degrees. It has been sunny, just so beautiful, which is great for like one, getting the steps in for my step challenge. I personally am doing horribly, but my team is currently in first place, so that's good. And I have been doing some cleaning, we did some grilling, and I have been trying to work my way through Pet Sematary. I'm currently 138 pages in. I set out last night to try and read as much as I possibly can, since the live show with Beth is in like 48 hours. And the thing with this book is that there are genuinely creepy moments. I have found myself being creeped out being alone reading this book. I have found myself feeling dreadful reading this book, but it is also just a little bit slow. I found myself wondering what this book would be like if it had been a short story or a novella instead. And we all know Stephen King, he's just really known for creating these very intricate worlds. He's great at setting, and he's great at creating character history and building character relationships. And sometimes it just goes on a little bit too long. We have now seen the Pet Sematary in action. Lewis's family is in Chicago for Thanksgiving, and he finds out that his daughter's cat has been killed one way or another, and he recently did a favor for his neighbor, and his neighbor takes him in the night to the Pet Sematary, and there's a lot of cloakery around it. He doesn't want him to talk about it with anybody. He doesn't want the locals to know that he has shown Lewis this pet cemetery, and now church is back. And I love the revulsion that has come with that, where at first he was relieved because he was really dreading having to explain to his daughter what happened to her cats. And then the more he thinks about it, the more he like smells the cat. There's just this revulsion. He doesn't want to be home or be around it. And I am really enjoying that discomfort. We also had a really great little Easter egg for The Shining already. And I love that those books were only 5 years apart and he was already Easter egging himself. So I very much like that. The end of this month is definitely sort of coming to a slow conclusion. At the beginning of the month, I really started with a bang, reading all of these punchy, dark, depraved, short, extreme horror books. And now I'm reading Pet Sematary, and I keep forgetting to mention this in the vlogs because I literally forget that I'm listening to it, but I am also listening to Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. This is an unpopular opinion, but I am not loving it. I think that it is definitely a book where if I had read it when I was younger, I would be enjoying it a lot more. It's definitely very cozy, but not a lot is happening, period. It's just about two sisters and one of the sisters' daughters and their relationship to the aunts of the two sisters. And there's allusions to witchcraft or magical or mysterious things happening around them, but we don't have like full witch vibes, or at least I don't feel like that. And it's just the kind of book that every time like they say fucking, I'm shocked. I'm like, oh my gosh, in this book, that's what they're saying. And maybe part of it is also the audiobook narrator. She's just very vanilla sounding. She doesn't add anything exciting to the story. I keep thinking and comparing it to Hocus Pocus in my mind. I didn't watch Hocus Pocus for the first time until I was in my late 20s. And at that point, I just thought it was a cute movie, but I didn't feel that obsession for it like people who have been watching it for their whole lives has. And I think Practical Magic is one of those books where I've talked to people where they say it's their every October book. They read it, it's their cozy book, it's the one that they return to again and again. And I think had I read this a long time ago, it would be that sort of book for me, but it's just not what I want right now. And that being said too, like I don't think I'm becoming a full-time extreme horror girly by any means. I have been really enjoying the prose in Pet Sematary and having some quality writing and character building. And even though it's been hard for me to stay awake reading it and it's a little bit slow, I am enjoying more attention being spent to those details. And that's the sort of thing that I like in horror books or just literary fiction in general. I will say though that extreme horror was exciting for me to read purely because of the fact that it is purely fun. It is just a good time, even if it's disgusting. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And I talked about it before on my channel of how I was in a fiction writing program in college and how my major is in fiction writing, and how a lot of professors at my college really looked down on genre writing. They didn't take like horror or sci-fi or romance very seriously. And so writing in those genres was not often encouraged. And then of course there's just what books are quality, what books are worth our attention and our time to be taught in school, to be discussed in school. And of course horror was never on those lists. And as I read, I still feel my college brain going. You've probably heard me mention the writing a lot or certain things that I notice in the author's writing of certain books. I very much have that critical college reading brain still, and I graduated almost 10 years ago. And I've been trying to unlearn that and just really enjoy reading, not for critiquing the writing or if we're like being smart. I just really have been enjoying books that are purely fun. That's why I like Emily Henry. That's why I like these extreme horror books. And so extreme horror does get those bonus points, but it does get heavy on my mind when I read quite a few in a row like I've done this month. So I think November, there's going to be a lot of romance. I am looking into getting into sort of maybe like some heady but cozy, detailed literary fiction again. And maybe I will just pepper in my extreme horror once or twice a month because it is fun. That is all I've got for you guys today. Today, I am going to Joann Fabrics because I need to get some supplies to decorate my pumpkin for my office pumpkin decorating contest that is tomorrow. I have an idea, now I just have to execute. I also need to get some fabric for my Halloween costume this weekend. My brother and his girlfriend are having a Scooby-Doo Spooky Island themed Halloween party, which is just the best. But they're asking everybody to dress up in Scooby-Doo related costumes. So we have Wolf in a little Scooby-Doo costume. My husband is going to get a mask of some kind and some rope and sort of look like an unmasked monster or villain from Scooby-Doo. And I am going to be the eyes in the dark, like in the cartoon when they'd be creeping along in the forest at night and in the pitch black, you just see the eyes opening. So I've got a black shirt, black pants, and I'm going to make little eyeballs to stick all over my body. And then after all of that, we are going to a brewery for a barbecue food truck with my brother and his girlfriend. And I am going to be hopefully making another big dent into Pet Sematary tonight. And that's it. See you guys. Hey everyone, happy Halloween! It is the end of October, Halloween, and I am just so excited for today, even though the weather so far has been just so gloomy and rainy, and it makes me just want to curl up and watch horror movies all day. I am so excited for trick-or-treating with Wolf later. He's still a little young, but we're gonna go anyway. And then it's our first year for Halloween in this house, so we're curious to see what the trick-or-treating situation looks like here. So we are hoping it's busy because we have a shitload of candy, and if not a lot of kids come, I'm going to be eating all of it for the next 3 months. And I have quite a big update for you guys. So we are going to get right into it. You will have seen some of the clips previously, so I will add context for those and insert pictures of the parts that I didn't quite get footage of. Thursday night, my husband and I went to a concert. We saw Black Joe Lewis at the Magic Bag in Ferndale, and it was awesome. Such a weird venue, though. I've never been to a venue where it's mostly seated, and just a very interesting crowd that I wasn't expecting, but the show itself was incredible. Between Thursday and Friday, I was then on a marathon sprint to finish Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I read over 200 pages in a 24-hour time period for this so that I would be ready for the Dead Red Book Club's live discussion over on Beth from Beth's All Books channel. And I did it. I finished it, and I think my criticism of the book is in part due to the fact that I was reading this on such a time crunch. I really enjoyed it. I think this has all of the makings of a great Stephen King book with the detailed histories of his characters. We have this really looming sense of dread in almost every page. To me, the pacing was just a little bit awkward. We start out where we have that uncomfortable feeling around death that I had mentioned before. We have a scene with the cat that is very thrilling, or it just adds this creepiness. And then there is a lot of exposition. There is that feeling of unease and discomfort throughout that, but there isn't a lot of action. And then when we get to the last 80 pages or so, I couldn't turn the pages fast enough. I was reading it so quickly just to see how everything was going to unfold. And so that was why I gave it, I think, a 4.25 out of 5 stars. Just the pacing was a little bit weird for me. And when I'm reading Stephen King, I'm expecting long-winded. I'm expecting those detailed descriptions. It's just, I think the time crunch is really what influenced my impatience with those features of his book. Still really enjoyed it, though. Definitely hard to read as a parent. My mother-in-law was not lying about that. When I was reading the scene regarding a child, Wolf was at the grocery store with my husband, and I just really wanted him there to give him a little squeeze. So that really does add to it, as well as that emotion, and the way he wrote about grief was done so well. Almost too well. It's very heartbreaking to read what the people in these pages are going through. Had so much fun in the live show. I have been dipping my toes into them this month, as we've seen. I did the live sprints over on Haley's channel, which was a great time. Had a really fun time discussing just a single book over on Beth's channel. It's just something I'm hoping to do more of. It's something that I've been looking forward to doing the most, and starting a YouTube channel is connecting with other creators and talking about books. That's what I like to do. Saturday, my best friend came to town. We went to my brother's Halloween party. It was Scooby-Doo themed, and I turned a black shirt and black leggings that I wear all the time into an Eyes in the Dark costume with my cricket. I thought it turned out pretty good. The eyes kept falling off all night, so once Wolf and my husband left the party to get him to bed, I just peeled them all off because I was sick of dealing with it. But it was an awesome time. And then yesterday, it was a Lions game day, and my dad and brother are season ticket holders, and my friend and her boyfriend were going to the game. And typically on game days, my dad and brother come over and we have boozy coffees and we have donuts and we just sort of hang out. I joke that it sweetens the blow of disappointment before the Lions inevitably lose. But it was so nice having my friends there for that and getting to see them even for, less than 24 hours. And then we went to Greenfield Village. So all of those creepy shots towards the end of the last clip of B-roll, that is all at Greenfield Village. It's at the Henry Ford Museum. And if you live in Detroit, you've probably heard of it. If you ever find yourself in Detroit around Halloween time, highly recommend getting tickets for their Halloween nights. They just have all these jack-o'-lanterns everywhere, lots of creepy displays. They have a fortune teller and the headless horseman and the creepy Grim Reaper right at the beginning. The train ride was also really cool with different characters or monsters hidden along the way. We had to leave a little bit earlier than I would have hoped to since Wolf was reaching the end of his rope, but I would absolutely go again. It's definitely worth it. And it really just set those Devil's Night vibes. In Michigan, Devil's Night is a thing. Obviously, in this economy, we are not toilet papering houses or throwing eggs because they're all $1 million. You have to be rich to be a mischief maker these days. But it was just so fun to be surrounded by all those like spooky fall vibes. And today I just have a couple of hours of work to do, and we are going to take Wolf on a lap around the neighborhood once trick-or-treating starts, and then we are going to settle in and hopefully have lots of trick-or-treaters. My husband is off of work tomorrow, so we can stay up late and get into a scary movie. And we just always like to celebrate Halloween. It's our favorite holiday regardless, but we actually had our first date on Halloween 8 years ago. So it's also very special and romantic for us. So can't wait to enjoy the day. I hope you guys are all having an amazing Halloween as well. I am going to go listen to Practical Magic and try to finish that, but I'm not that pressed about it. Hope you guys get lots of candy, have lots of trick-or-treaters, and enjoy the spooky vibes. If you are new to watching this video, please be sure to subscribe. It gives me a confidence boost every single time. Also be sure to like this video because that really doubles down on that confidence boost. And leave a comment down below. If you've watched all of this, let's leave a pumpkin emoji. Let me know what you wear for Halloween. What did you read during the spooky season? I am taking a horror book break for the month of November, I think, but she always calls me back, so I will be reading more in the very near future. And stay tuned. I did not do a September wrap-up, so I am doing a September-October wrap-up. It is over 15 or 16 books, I think, so I'm really excited to recap all of those and talk about them with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Halloween and cheers!